Today we're going to do a slideshow carousel, and we could do different ones. One of the best ones I found that I really like how it works is the slideshow slash carousel from W3 schools. So we're going to go over how to do that today, and we're going to have to add a couple of things, a couple of files, and to get everything to work. So let's get to it. So I'm going to browse down through here real quick just to make sure I have everything. I actually did a little bit of prep work in advance. I went through each of these slides. I did a control click or double click or control click or command click. It's a Mac. I can't remember which one it is. And I just did a save image as. And I saved all those images in the images folder of my repository. So if I go back, I'm going to open up GitHub. First thing is I'm in the sample portfolio. I'm in the master branch, and I'm going to go ahead and fetch. That's going to pull all of my code that I have up on GitHub. It's going to pull it down. Everything's going to be good. And I have some changes already, and that's where I've added these JPEGs. So it's already showing that locally I have these changes, and they're just the images from the slideshow. So I am going to create a branch. This is normal GitHub flow. Is I have an issue. I want to create a slideshow. So I'm going to create a branch. New branch, and we'll call it W3 Schools Slide Show. Click create branch. So now everything I'm working on is going to be in this branch. I don't have to worry about messing up anybody else's work. This is a single person project, so it doesn't quite apply as a group project, but it's still important to get into the practice of doing this. When you're working with a group of people, this would be your normal flow. All right. So I've got the images. Now I need to actually create the page. If we look at, let me go ahead and open this up to Figma, and I'm going to take a look at this demo, which is what we've been working on. And what I have here is like this project. The idea is that a person would go from the gallery to an individual project, and there's two options for the project. Would be a slideshow would show different versions of the project or different angles of the project, screenshots, that sort of thing, and then you'd have some talk about the project. So this is what we're going to call it, and I have this labeled slideshow, so that's what we're going to name it. Go back to Adam. And as always, I've got a start here. I've got my index page, which has everything in it in the head and footer. And crap. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Noticed there were some notifications popped up, and I had to take care of it. Hopefully they won't show up again. Anyhow, I forgot where I was at. So let's say I've got my index page, and that has my header and footer, everything I want. That's what I want to keep working on or working from. So when I go to create a new page, I'm actually going to use my index page as a template, so to speak. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to command click. Actually, I'm just going to It is control click. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is control click and bring up duplicate. So this is going to give me an option to rename this, and I am going to name this slideshow. Now, as we did previously, I'm going to scroll down through here, and I want the header to stay the same. I want the main and the section. So I'm going to take everything out of that main and section and delete it. So now I've got an empty section, and this is where I'm going to put the code for my slideshow. So let's go back to W3 Schools, and we can talk about what the process is and what this does. But for right now, I'm just going to copy the code. So this first part here, and then we'll talk about what it does. So highlight, Command C, go back to Atom, and I'm going to paste it in. So basically this is the slideshow container, and this part here is for the control. This is how it controls the fade in and out and everything else. These classes are what does the work. And then this is the number that shows up in so if we look at the page, that is this number here, and then here's the text. So let's go back. So that's the number. There's the caption text. Now this source is image 1, image 2, image 3. Well, I don't have my name that way. I have it slideshow 1, slideshow 2, slideshow 3. So I can do one of two things. I can either rename these images, or I can put the correct image source in here. Now, I can't use just image 1 because I have to tell it where this image is. So it's actually in the images folder and slideshow1.jpg. And I want to keep as much typing, limited typing as possible. So I know all of my images are in the same folder and they're named really close to the same. So I'm just going to go down through here, change this to a 2, replace the source for image 3, and give it a 3. And did I skip one? I guess there's only... Okay, in this there's only 3 images, but the sample slideshow has 4. So we're going to add the 4th image real quick by copying this whole div, this My Slides Fade. We're going to copy, paste it in, and I'll notice that this is 2 of 3, 1 of 3. Let's correct that because now there's going to be 4 images. These are the minor details that will get you. 3 of 3, 3 of 4. Oh, and Control V. And finally, 4 of 4. And this is slideshow 4. And this is also caption 4. If I wanted, obviously you'd want the caption to be a little bit more elaborate than that. This is the left and right arrows that are displayed on the page. So that's these right here. Okay. And this is the dots underneath. So let's go back, and if we look at that, there's these dots underneath. So the way we add that 4th dot is you look at this, and it's pretty standard. They have, whoa. Oh, okay. I had my fingers on the wrong spot. All right. I'm going to copy this last line, put in another span, and we'll do current slide 4. This will work. I'm going to save this. So now I've got a slideshow.html. And let's go ahead and open it up. So I'm going to do a show in File Manager. And then I'm just going to double click on it, which will open it up in Chrome for me. Wow, that didn't work as expected. My images aren't showing up. All the text is there. You can see that is everything's there. Let's see what I did incorrectly. So, well, I said image slideshow 1. My directory is images. So let's go back through and add an S for each one of these. Save it again. Go back and refresh. So now we have all 4 images, but they're not stacked on top of one another, and they're not a slideshow yet. So let's look at how we do that. So we have the HTML. Now the CSS is going to help take care of things. I am actually going to create a new style sheet for this, since it is just, if I can actually get, there we go. I'm highlighting all the CSS. So that's under step 2. You might have to scroll. You've got to be careful with it. It gets a bit crazy. Since this is strictly for one page, and it is strictly for a page with a slideshow on it, I am going to create a separate CSS for this. It makes sure that I'm not loading extra things, and I don't have to worry about the CSS interfering with other pages. For example, forms. If I had something on forms that this happened to have the same name for, it could mess with things. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to go back to Atom. I'm going to go to my CSS folder, and I'm going to say new file, and I'm going to call it slideshow.css. And I'm going to paste the contents in there. So box sizing, border box, that's probably something that should exist already in your style sheet, but that's a good thing. This limits the size of the maximum size of the slideshow so that it can't be over 1,000 pixels wide. And this hides all of the slideshows. So the first thing we're going to do is going to hide everything, and then we're going to use the JavaScript to show everything. And then this is the CSS, or the formatting for the previous and next, the left and right arrows. And this is so that we get that background shading when we hover over those. Just the text, where the positioning of text. This is for the dots. And then this is what actually controls the fade in and out as it's moving. So let's see this in action. Save this. The next thing we have to do is we actually have to go in and tell the slideshow HTML to load that CSS. And we just copy, or we can retype the line above, style sheet, and then href equals CSS slideshow.css. I'm going to save this, go back and load the page. Now, when I load this, it is going to look absolutely nothing like what we expected, because all the images are going to be hidden. See? Oh, but we do have these. Doesn't do a lot of good, though. So to make things finish out, we need the JavaScript. Now, JavaScript, we could put in the HTML, but the correct format is to have it in its own file. So I'm going to, once again, copy this. I'm going to go back to Atom, and I'm going to create, we have an images folder, we have a CSS folder. I'm going to create a folder for scripts. So this is where you would put things like if you had a script that did a gallery or did some dynamic content. This is where you would place those scripts. This is strictly an organizational thing, and it helps you keep everything neat and organized. Once again, do a new file, and this I'm just going to call slideshow.js. The .js stands for JavaScript, so it lets us know that this is a script file. I'm going to paste back in the, I'm going to paste in the JavaScript. Just want to make sure everything looks right. Okay, And the way that we call the JavaScript from the web page is with a script tag. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then let's go back to our slideshow.html. Normally, all of your scripts would look like this. It would be in the header. If we load this here, so we'll do script source equals, and this is in the scripts folder, and it's slideshow. Let me expand this, and it's slideshow.js. And then we close the script. And I'm going to save this. Now, it's not going to work, but we'll save it. Go back to the slideshow HTML, refresh it, and as I said, it won't work. So this is a bit, this starts getting a little deeper into how things work. But this script it's basically getting a count of your slides, like how many slides you have. So this show slides in gets element by class name. So this looks for a my slides, and it also gets the dot. These are getting all of your elements that are with this class name. And it creates an array, so it's numbered 0, 1, 2, 3. But when you put it up in the head of your document, it doesn't see that yet. It's coming down through your browser processes the HTML file linearly. So that means it's coming down through, it hits this JavaScript, and it's like, oh, I need to get all of the classes with my slides. Well, they don't exist yet because it hasn't loaded them yet. So what we need to do is take this line, I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to put it all the way at the bottom, right before the ending body tag. All right. Save it again. Go back. Refresh. And now we have our slideshow. We click on the arrows. It goes 2 to 4, 1 to 4. It loops back around 4 to 4. And the only problem is these are off to the side. Now, this was something that showed up when we did our forms. Remember when we went to a larger size, it really messed things up. This is because of how I did the original side by side for the image and the text on the index page. So let's go ahead and correct it real quick. It needs to be done anyhow. If we look at the index page, it's how I handled this section here. And let's look at the default style sheet. I said in the main profile image, main height, you call the first one profile image about me. I thought you knew what this was. Oh, okay. This is right. So I'm starting mobile first. So I'm assuming that all the modifications are when the screen gets a certain width, then I change things. So what I'm really looking for is within my media query. So after the screen is larger than 800 pixels, I say section display flex, profile image flex 1, profile image with, so basically what I'm doing is I'm telling that main section to display flex when it's over 800 pixels. So it's doing it for everything. So anytime I have something, it thinks it's a flex display, so it's trying to fit it into 2 sections. All I have to do is say section dot index page. I just give it a class. I go back in and I go to my index page and I say section class equals index page. So now I've got something that will work uniquely for my index page, but won't affect any other page that I have. So I'm going to save this and go back, hit refresh. Now the images are lining up with the dots underneath them correctly. Everything's working, and that's a slideshow. Just as a proof of example, let's go back and make sure that the index is showing up the way it should. So yep, it's still doing its thing. I still haven't corrected the sizing issue. I don't like how that's sized. And if I go to the email me, I need to correct that link still. But we know that it was the contact that was really messed up. So let's look at contact.html. And now when we're full screen, it's not messed up like it was before. So 2 birds, 1 stone. We have a slideshow and we've corrected an issue with our CSS. So I keep forgetting that I finish up this item. We're good with how things are looking. And I keep forgetting to demonstrate going back and actually committing this back to a repository. So I'm going to go back to GitHub. You can see that I have changed my slideshow. That's a new file. I've changed the style.css, added that class for index page so that I can assign this to only happen for the index page. And modified the index page itself by adding that class in the section. And we've added the JS and we've added the slideshow.html. So what I need to do is commit this back. And I'm going to say added slideshow W3 schools. And because I want to make note of it, I'm going to add in that I changed the index page class. Added class for index page to show content in 2 columns and not affect all the other pages. All right, I'm going to commit this. Now I have everything in my branch. Traditionally, I would do a pull request. So I go in here. It's under branch, create pull request. And I have to publish the branch. I have to put the branch up before I can create a pull request for it. So now it's published and it's opened up in a different window. So let's bring this over here. And this wants me to fill in information for that pull request. So I'm going to change this around a little bit in size so I can see it. And since I'm not working with other people, I don't need to elaborate on this. But now I can create pull request. And traditionally, somebody else would actually merge this. It allows for review of code so that you don't mess things up. If somebody doesn't review code, you could put bad code in production, and sometimes bad code still gets into production because it happens. I'm going to go ahead and click merge pull request, confirm merge. So now, if I go back and look at my sample portfolio, portfolio. I can see that I'm on branch master and I have slideshow.html. I'm going to go ahead and close this because I'm done there. I'm going to open up my GitHub and I'm going to fetch everything. So I'm still in the W3 School Slideshow branch. I'm going to switch back to my master branch. And when I go to the Finder, I will see that I still have Slideshow in there. And when I go to the GitHub page for it, so let's go back to GitHub. Sample portfolio. And I am going to go to my settings. That way I can just click on the link for the pages. I've got the GitHub pages set up. Click here. All right, everything works, except I'm Slim Shady now. And I want to take a look at my slideshow.html. And my slideshow is working. All right. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you in class.